good morning, and welcome to Hardin Life Live. We are the Hardins, and we love joining you this first 10 minutes every Monday morning from 9:30 to 9:40 to hopefully offer you some tips on how to live your best life in both a therapeutic and a faith-based model of being a whole person. And so we love taking cool topics, but before I open up the topic, we just want to say thank you for how many of y'all reached out to us on our birthdays. How crazy is it that we are one day apart? But we felt the love. We thank you so much. And this is the month of love, okay? And I love Phil wrote on just sort of, we come toward that Valentines weekend. There's so much, I think it stirs up a lot in people. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking to you, Hun, to sort of set our tone, and how do we need to approach this?
Well, certainly St. Valentine's Day or Valentine's Day is a reminder of love, hearts, Cupid, chocolate, flowers, all resonate with us at this time. And I think it's a perfect time to do an assessment of how you're doing in intimate relationship, whether that's in your marriage with your partner or just maybe friendships and family members. Sometimes family members are the hardest to reconcile with.
Amen. I think we have as many sibling, in-laws, outlaws, historical, broken, painful pieces in our relationships.
Well, there's rupture in relationships are very common. And, I would use the analogy in terms of when there is a rupture, how do you repair it? Well, you go back to where it was broken. For example, if in your yard you have a sprinkler system and one day you walk out in your yard and there's water everywhere, you don't go get a backhoe and dig up the whole yard. What you do is you try to find the spot where the rupture, the broken pipe, has occurred. And so as I was thinking about, Valentine's Day and seeing ruptures repaired in relationship, first of all, I was reminded of Isaiah 58, verse 12, where God makes a promise to his people, and he basically assures them in the passage that he is a God of restoration. He is a healer. And the Hebrew word there is shuv, S-H-U-V, transliterated. And that Hebrew word means that that there will be a rebuilding, a repair, a restoration. And he basically tells his people, I won't do the rebuilding, but as I empower you, or in the passage, they will rebuild, they will restore, they will raise up from the old ruins or the broken parts in order to build something new. And, the beauty of really finding where a relationship or acknowledging where a relationship is broken is the beginning of the repairing process. Identify where we were when the rupture occurred. Oftentimes in my counseling office, a couple will come in and they've just had a miserable weekend. And part of the healing process is to identify when and over what did the rupture occur. For example, I might even say, so what you're telling me is if I would have had a conversation with you Friday morning at 9 a.m., things were great.
Yeah, they were great.
And then by noon, things were not great. What happened? Because things can get so bad in the rupture by noon that a couple or an individual start using language like, you've never loved me. I hate you. This marriage has been awful. But really, what happened was from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, there was such a flooding of anger and hurt that elicited blame and criticism that it feels like we've never had any kind of an intimate relationship.
So what I really hear you saying is that when we're in the midst of our pain, what happens is we tend to globalize, and what was a specific rupture ends up being this enormous feeling. And one of the most accurate pieces we've got to go with is, what was the specific? Because if you look at this globalized awful, it seems almost impossible to fix it. And a lot of times that's where people pull out and bail out in divorce, in family. Like, I've got a family member who sort of wrote off everybody in the family. And I don't even know what the original rupture was.
Yeah.
And yet it's been like 40 years.
And nor do they.
Yeah, it's like a 40-year rupture.
Well, let me give you 3 very concrete pieces of the restoration puzzle. If you're going to restore or repair a relationship, 3 critical pieces have got to be in place.
Okay.
Number 1 is own your part.
Oh, and that's usually where people never get it. Because I'd much rather point at you instead of looking at the other fingers pointing back at me.
Even when couples show up in our counseling office, the most common experience is they come in like this, fix her,
right,
fix him, and it's this kind of dynamic that we're trying to dismantle in order to come like this. Oh
yeah. And honestly, usually we have 2 very intelligent people sitting in front of us.
Most of the time.
Not all the time, but most of the time. And if you can actually get them on the same side of the table, seeing the problem, instead of seeing each other as the problem, they can actually problem solve really well. But they're not there.
Well, again, that's what I say is the first piece is to own your part.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about me that's causing this rupture to continue? Second piece that I would offer is change or do something different. Quit doing the same thing over and over. But again, change your behavior, whether it be kindness, gentle responses, even just stating very clearly what your desires are, is doing something different, because the easiest thing to do is to continue in the place of blame and criticism, agitation, anger, alienation from self or your other. But change, do something different.
Well, and I'm going to give you one simple change that we have noticed makes a really big difference, is take the word you out of your vocabulary. Just take it out. When you're talking with a friend, a partner, a loved one, just speak from your own person.
Yep.
I'm
anytime you're using the second person pronoun you,
yeah,
it's like a gun.
Yeah, it is. And so if you'll just simply take that out and just say, I'm not feeling close to you. I'm feeling misunderstood. Mm-hmm. That allows the person not to be in defense.
Third and final piece, just in summary, and you can look at our blog that details this, but the third piece is respect. And with respect, a lot of respect is best expressed and lived out in listening to the other person.
Yes.
Rather than trying to be right, listen and understand and respect the other's perspective, whether it's right or wrong, but at least hear them and understand where they're coming from. Respect.
Well, and I think even like you're saying that right and wrong, your life is not a math problem. There's not one right answer. There's a mix of a blend and a flow of process. And too often we try to solve problems and ruptures being right or wrong. Well, I know we're sadly out of time, and we have so enjoyed it. But in talking about these relationships, I want to just highlight 2 events we're having this month. On the Valentine weekend just coming up, we are going to have a marriage workshop in Fairhope, Alabama. Love to have you join us. Check our website, hardinlife.com. And then the very last weekend of this month, we're having our very first time workshop for blended families. We want to see families that are coming from broken parts get to have that restoration. So spread that word. We'd love to have people come, but until then, don't forget and miss Phil's blog on more details of what we shared, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.